Live from Harebrained Schemes in beautiful Knoxville. What's the matter with you? Everything okay? Click that thing. Stop that thing.
There we go. That's
It's a professional show.
There we are.
All right. Live
Perfect.
from the suburbs of Seattle where it's gray and getting very Seattle-like.
Thank goodness.
This is the BattleTech Developers live stream Q&A. We do this monthly on the second Wednesday of every month. And here's the format, just so that you know. For the first half of this 1 hour live stream Q&A, we get to talk to members of the team, find out who they are, what they do, and interesting things about game development. In the second half, it's potpourri, where in chat you can ask us all sorts of questions. These two guys, I was going to say losers, but that would be incorrect and would also possibly cost me a milestone. These two guys leave. Mike McCain, our game director, comes in, and then we do that thing. You got that so far? Good. I'm glad you're with us. Let's start by introducing the kids. I'm Mitch from Harebrained Schemes. Your turn, and what do you do?
I'm Kevin Maloney, and I am a designer on this project, doing a bunch of AI and some content design as well.
Boom.
I am Dave LeCompte, AI engineer and other assorted engineering.
Great. Now for this first half, what's going to happen, we are taking your questions from our forums, and that's BattleTechGame.com. What is that, kids?
BattleTechTheGame.com.
That is absolutely incorrect. It's BattleTechGame.com.
Oh.
So you improvise.
BattleTech.game.
You're fucking killing
Just
me. Right
BattleTech.
now. All right.
Just use Google.
You're fucking killing me. So here's the thing. We were going to do an AI-focused live stream, I think last time, but unfortunately, Kevin's a new father. So let's just start off, and this was from the forums. Kevin, how's the kid?
The kid is good. The kid, she does not always sleep the entire night.
What a shock.
Yeah.
A newborn not sleeping through the night.
It turns out kids are some work. Everyone says it's so easy, but like...
Nobody actually says
You're
it's
right.
easy.
No one says that.
And as the father of 3 adult children, I can tell you, it only gets worse.
Yeah, but at least we got free... We got that big thing of Costco coffee in there.
Bravo. And you feed that to the kid?
Yeah, no, it seems...
That's on my blog.
Yeah, her little eyes light up. I read that on the internet.
All right, let's get to game development. All right, so the first question is like, so you're a designer.
That's right.
You're a programmer. How does this work?
Pretty well.
Yeah.
That's right. This isn't a quality question. This is a process
like
question.
9 to 5 or so.
Try and keep with the fucking programming. Once
Sure.
again, you're killing me. Go ahead.
Right. Go ahead.
So we have, I don't know, we have a whole bunch of ideas of what we want to do with behaviors that we want the AI to exhibit. And so, Kevin and I will talk about, how can we get in that direction? How can we try to cover those bases? And I'll bring ideas of, well, if we built the AI this way, and then provide abilities to customize it, that way, like does that get where we want? And so it's a dialogue, definitely going towards the features of what.
So you have
what
that high level agreement. This is what we wanted to do. You code something, and then what happens?
It goes.
IFM technology.
Yeah.
It goes back and forth because, like, first we start off with questions. Sometimes I think of a question like, "How should the AI do called shots?" Sometimes something just comes emergently out of what we're developing with combat, like, "Oh, we have heat, so how should the AI do that?" And that gets pitched to me.
Sure.
Dave and I will go into...
Sometimes the questions are, why is the AI doing that? So.
Yeah.
That may come from me.
Yeah, why did that guy run over
Except
and
mine has
stare?
profanity in it.
Yeah. Yeah, good profanity, though.
Oh, yeah, well, thank you. I studied. Go ahead.
Colorful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there'll be questions. We'll go into a room, like Dave was saying. We'll talk about those questions. And then I'll talk a lot about what we want and why we want it.
Right.
And then Dave will say, well, this is something that I could do to get the AI to answer those questions.
Right.
I guess, in the theme of Q&A, I'm sort of more the questions guy, and then Dave is sort of more the answers guy.
But then there's another element to it where there's tuning involved.
Absolutely.
Why don't you describe that process a little bit?
I'll get the ticket back out of our task tracking software.
Right.
This thing is done. It's in
Right.
the build. Try it. I'll do it. I'll play with the AI, and then I also have some debug logs that Dave put in. So as I'm going around, I'm looking for certain things, and I'll tune things to the extreme. Like going back to the example of heat, let's say we want the AI to take shots, only good shots when it's overheated. So then I'll be like, okay, let's turn that heat tolerance all the way down. Let's turn it all the way up. And then just go back and forth to test the bounds of what's going on, and then make sure I like what I'm seeing. Then look at all the numbers that come out of that log and make sure it's coming in priority-wise about what we want.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
And then we release it to the team, and they complain.
Yeah.
Not always. I would say we're at least batting 50-50, man.
In game development, victory.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
To have a non-whiny team
Yeah.
is a fallacy, right? That can't happen.
I would use the feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sure. You can do that. When you're 25 years into your career, you can change that to whiny. It's cool.
Yeah.
I get it. All right, just a couple more up. First of all, that was a great overview.
Good.
And
Good.
I hope you like that stuff. We'll get, and you, by the way, really good questions that
Yeah.
you put on BattleTechGame.com. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is, I want to get a little bit of your background, but really, there's such good questions here. I really want to focus on the nitty-gritty AI stuff.
Okay.
So real fast, Dave,
Yep.
how did you get your start in AI? And there's so many people that ask me ask us this question. Cause of Doom, Gentask, of course, our buddy Prussian Havoc. Go ahead.
Well, I'll throw all the way back to like the super early 80s. I was playing Robot War by Silas Warner on the Apple II.
Bravo.
It was a game where you actually programmed robots that fought in an arena. And
that was an inspiration for Mech Commander 1. I'm not
Awesome,
shitting you.
awesome.
I'll tell you that story one day.
Yeah, no, that definitely was where I cut my teeth as an engineer, as a programmer. I was learning how to make robots, shoot each other, and that's one of those sort of rare games that is definitely aimed towards programmers. Like all you do is program the robots, zoom forward to like Omega was a game from Origin. Carnage Heart was a game on the PlayStation. There are a handful of games like that I totally love. So that's definitely a big part of like how I got into programming in general. Specifically, how I got into to AI. I mean, that was AI certainly at that time. But in school, I took some classes, did a bunch of research. My thesis, undergraduate thesis, was on AI, and just been kind of doing it ever since. So.
Fair enough. All right, we're done with you. What about you, Kevin? What's your story?
Let's see. First AI thing I ever did was on a Flash game that I made when I was taking game design at Vancouver Film School.
Which you liked.
I did.
You recommend Vancouver
I
films.
do recommend them.
Let's get on it. I just want to make sure that we get that endorsement out there.
Get that
'Cause
plug in there.
You're a firm advocate.
Absolutely.
All right, keep going.
And then my first gig was actually at our friends Piranha Games up in Vancouver. I was a QA intern on a stock car, Days of Thunder stock car game. I know. We've talked about this, and you have there's a special place in your heart for that title. I know.
As the guy who used to run Xbox Live Arcade, I turned them down. That's how my relationship with Piranha started. But let's move on.
Yeah, my first game. Anyways, so because I was doing QA on it, and there wasn't really a dedicated AI designer, I sort of filled in a little bit of that. It was pretty simple, but it was interesting. Mm-hmm. And then on Tron, the Tron game, Tron Evolution, the video game.
Right.
Yeah, and
I've seen you wear the T-shirt.
Yeah, it's got the disc on the back and everything. I was my area of focus for testing was the AI and boss fights.
Right.
I see. So I did all that, and I did the big test matrices for the external QA.
Yeah, that can completely pique your interest.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and I got to work with the combat team a lot, blah blah blah. So that was cool. And then fast forward to here, Sheridan and I did that rebuild for Dragonfall.
Right.
Was scripting a bunch of it.
Dragonfall.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, and hey, by the way, this time I believe we're correct. We're also being hosted by our friends at Paradox.
Oh, cool.
In Sweden. So if there are people in here that have never been to one of these Q&As, I hope we're not disappointing you.
Yeah.
But welcome.
Yeah.
We're really appreciative that you're here. I just want to get that out. And of course, NoGutsNoGalaxy. Love you. Keep going.
Yeah, and that was Sheridan made this really cool system with a Gumbo, the in-house scripting language.
Sure.
did all that, and then when it came time to start BattleTech, we had the meetings like, so who wants to do AI? And all the heads just kind of went.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, no, that sounds great. I'm looking forward to it. It's
See,
cool.
everybody's really going, not it. Anyway. All right, let's move on with professional show business. This is good stuff, though. Going forward here, let's see. No, I don't want to do that. There we go. Now we're good. So let's start out this way. And this is the biggest softball in the world, but it comes from Gray Mauser, who asked a very intelligent, smart first question. How is the AI written? I mean, how's that work? The scripted natural language? Or what the hell? Let's start at the basics. Like, how does BattleTech AI work?
So not using a natural language, it's using a custom domain-specific language that we have that we use to create the behavior trees.
Okay. That answers a question from a lot of you, which is, are you using behavior trees?
Yes. And I'm gonna throw up a behavior tree on the screen.
Oh, look at that!
Yeah.
Hit me with the behavior tree!
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Ooh,
whoa!
look at that.
That looks pretty good.
Look at all those squares.
That is one of our simplest behavior trees. That's for units that patrol. And I don't expect anyone to actually be able to read that. That's...
what about it? Has it got something more serious?
Oh, you want something more serious?
Oh,
that's our actual
that's
core.
actually made out of fuck you.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Like a vital ingredient.
So that's the whole complexity of the system there.
And both Dave and I have that entire thing in our head at any one time.
Oh, yeah,
we have the entire thing by memory.
That's why you get the medium bucks, right?
Maybe half of it if we're lucky. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we I mean, basically.
Once you start at the beginning, what is a behavior tree?
Advocate
for the common man, which I am.
Yeah.
Good. So a behavior tree is responsible for the simple, or I don't want to say simple, but the
simple to use sport. Yeah.
The sort of the if-then logic. So if I'm knocked down, then I want to stand up. If I'm overheated, then there's other stuff that I want to do, and it can be there's stuff in there for basic logic stuff like ands and ors, and so a lot of the just sort of normal computation that you do in a scripting language or in some other kind of approach maps directly to a behavior tree. The nice thing about it is that you can interrupt the computation, you can implement different sorts of behavior computation structures. You can do parallel computation and stuff like that. So it's like a little virtual machine, if that's a phrase that people are familiar with.
Well, you're on the internet. Google this.
Yeah.
So my first week here, I was given sort of a recipe for, here's what we think that the AI ought to do, and so I had a version of that, I think in the first week, and then I had a behavior tree of it pretty much right after that.
Which is a perfect thing for a new hire, by the way.
Yeah,
for people like me who go, oh, good. He's actually making stuff.
Yeah, show people that you kind of know what you're talking about. Yeah. So behavior trees are good for that sort of that if-then logic. We also have influence maps, which I know is also people were asking about that. Influence maps have more of kind of the analog, prefer this to this, but kind of do some of each, and so...
And that's one of those things that Kevin tunes.
Yeah, that's exactly the stuff, and there's a lot of tuning that goes into the influence maps. How much do you...
We'll call it weeks.
It's true.
That's where it starts.
As a producer, I think in weeks. Money. Keep going.
But so an influence map, and hey, I'm gonna...
What if we had an influence map right here? Look at this visual!
So this is an example of you see all these different little stars, and each of those is a potential location that the AI can move to, and each of the little petals of the stars, each of the little bursts, and I'm gesturing with my hands when I'm off screen, which is awesome.
Nice.
I can see
each of those represents a direction that the AI is considering.
Will your mouse work if you mouse over that thing as a virtual?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Right, Chad, is that working? Keep going, and we'll find out.
Oh, I just wanted to jump into with this image. This worked for probably, I don't know, in the last 4 or 5 months, we've been real busy with AI. For the first third of it, this worked for me to figure out what the AI was doing. I'd be like, oh, well, I changed this, so this side is more green, and that side's more red. When I tune this, it does that.
And I'm just going to jump in on top of you there.
Sure.
The red is stuff that the AI has decided that it really doesn't like, and the green and even white are stuff that the AI decides that it really does like, and that's what it means for the AI to like something is coming out of that influence factor or influence map, or this whole thing is an influence map, but it's a combination of a bunch of factors. Like, do I want to be hot? Do I want to be cold? Do I want to be standing on top of high ground? Do I want to stand behind the enemy? Do I want to keep my back away from the enemy? So all of that goes into evaluating each position and orientation.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention real quick is what...
Why don't you put us back so we can see this man's pretty face?
Yeah. Oh, you're too kind.
I am. I keep going.
I'll take...
Sorry.
No,
I should have said, no, really.
Yeah, you should have.
You're the beast.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Just lie a little, would you? Anyways, let's see. So what Dave then put in for to really help me out, starting from that influence map view that you just saw, that I would look at to interpret behaviors or help me interpret behaviors, is a much more detailed log that showed like priorities of different things, what it chose and why. We're still doing more work with that, but what was interesting is like once we got past X point in development, what we really needed was better like log tools, so I could ask better questions of the logs of the information that I was seeing, so I could actually make meaningful tuning. And that was sort of like a big help up, especially as we gained in complexity.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Sort of the ever-present question is like, why did the AI just do that?
And, always.
And the more that we can kind of convey that to the player, the smarter the AI seems. But the more that we can convey that to ourselves, the more confidence that we have that the AI is doing what we want it to do.
Well put.
Now, I know there was a specific question about this that I remember when I was reading last night. Forgive me, I can't find it, but I want to ask it on behalf of the person keeping things going. We actually have different roles for different AI actors in our game.
That's right.
So maybe, Kevin, you can start talking about that a little bit.
Let's see, I'll talk about more or less where we're at right now rather than how we got here, because we don't have all day.
Yeah,
Yeah. So the AI does understand like its current status. Like if you put the same brain in a locust and an atlas, it's going to behave way different. Just based on the weapons it has, its movement, its armor, it's going to do different things. It understands what it's about. That said, certain mechs are meant to perform certain roles in certain situations. Just most BattleTech fans will know that. Like a Locust, you're not gonna like go, it's not a melee fighter, you're gonna use it to scout.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a good example because we have something called the scout role. And what it does is if it has friends that are bigger than it is more inclined to sprint, it's more inclined to scout, it's more inclined to try to get behind people, and it cares more about being shot. Our sort of default one is a brawler, and that's just like, just get in there and fight. And then we also have another one called sniper, which is like, I am more biased to staying a little away from the fight and concentrating on long range weaponry.
Right. And there's a flanker too, right?
No.
We deprecated that.
Yeah, because we had flanker and spotter, and it turns out that was one of those cases of we didn't start with the best questions for what we wanted.
Bravo.
And we got to better questions, and that sort of all merged into the scout.
See, that is exactly the sort of thing I love about these live stream Q&As. It's that sort of insight you don't usually get. It's like, no, we were asking the wrong question. Yeah. That's brilliant to me. I love that kind of thing. I want to keep going. This one's for you, Dave.
Okay.
And my God, we got this from Prussian Habit, the Doctor, Lanky, multiple people asking a similar topic, which is, how does an enemy lance coordinate? And if they don't, do you plan to, or what are your thoughts about that?
So, getting that coordination is definitely an extra layer of complexity. And so, to the degree that we can get some of that emergently, then that's a benefit in terms of complexity of code. That said, this has been a thing that we've sort of identified as a weakness of the AI from some of the builds that we've shown people. And so we've sort of decided to attack some of that head on and trying to make sure that the cohesion is something that we address deliberately as opposed to more emergently. So we don't have kind of an overmind.
There's not an enemy mech commander AI.
Yeah, exactly. So so each of the units is making decisions individually for what's best for themselves, and the some of the role assignment that is definitely done cooperatively or collaboratively throughout the entire lance. Decisions about whether to reserve, that's done at the lance level. So there's some stuff that makes a lot of sense to do.
The fence too.
Okay.
Like the distance fence, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah,
and that's the cohesion stuff. So try to lock people, try to keep people tight together. So
now moving past that a little bit, thanks for that. That's a hard one.
Yeah,
it's hard.
It's
hard
to
grok and it's hard to do.
Yeah, right.
That's the thing. Kevin, to you, and this comes from Gray Mauser, but a couple other people also. So we've seen the AI publicly only in skirmish. Right. There's a lance of 4 mechs over here. Right. And there's our lance, and run at each other and kill.
Right.
That's one single aspect of how our AI is used. Talk about, because Kevin also actually builds single player missions.
Yeah.
How's the AI work in single player? What can we expect? What do you think is different?
Oh, a lot of things. Like we have the concept too of
and also, sorry, while you're in there, if you could say what control a level designer might have on the
absolutely
AI also.
Absolutely. For example, Connor was working, we reviewed that patrol mission
right.
2 weeks ago or whatever. So in that example, there's a convoy that is trying to evacuate, and your job is to go in there and destroy that convoy before they get there. In that mission. So in that case, it's you don't want the AI just as soon as it sees the bad guys just to start, or just start fighting in the middle. They have stuff to do. So there's there's 2 different things going on in that particular example that the AI does. One, there's the convoy that's just going to the base. And that's all they care about. And so they're following a patrol path that the designer lays down. Pretty common thing for video games.
Sure.
We do it too.
You bet.
They're going to the place. But then everyone else, they're trying to stay within proximity to those things. So you put a tag on those units. Okay. You tell the AI, other units with that tag, stay X, care about it in this amount of distance, let's say 150 meters. And then the designer can also input a weight, which is the same way that all the other variables that we have.
Weight, W-E-I-G-H.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. Right kind. That's the right kind of weight. So for instance, put in 1.5, which in our land means care about this quite a lot. And then what the AI will do is, depending on everything else that's going on, it will weigh that versus firing versus trying to protect itself and everything else. So that's an example. But you have to explicitly say, go patrol along this path, or try to stay in proximity to this. And those AI orders are what the designer issues to the AI.
All right. Important thing, my coffee is here.
Ooh.
Before you get snarky, there's more being made.
I don't get smarky, Dagger. Thank you to Dagger for bringing in my coffee.
How is it?
Not a lot. To her point earlier. But thank you. You know what Crunch needs? Coffee. Coffee is for crunchers.
Yeah.
There's a reference in there. Look it up on the internet. All right, great stuff. Let's see how we do. We got about 6 minutes left.
Holy cow.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. Time flies when you're chatting and stuff. But I think you're really giving the information that folks are looking for, so I appreciate it. One thing that I got out of here, too, and forgive me in an effort to make time, I'm just going through these. There's questions that have come up about the AI, this is a timid AI, and this is an ace AI, and this is an AI that its morale gets shaken and stuff. Talk about that for a minute. Did we execute on any of that? And if not, Why?
Um,
And that's where Buddy is.
So defensive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, defensive. We've got in there, and so we do have the idea of moods, and there's a very small number
What
of
about
moods.
cranky? What about hangry? Is hangry one of them? Like, I don't
Not
know.
yet, but I could go back to my desk and get cracking on that.
Don't go back to your desk for that.
So if a unit takes a bunch of damage,
Yeah.
I think that's one of the triggers
Nope.
for it to go. Used to be.
Yes. Sorry.
Welcome to our relationship.
But we
here.
still. Sorry, I'm like getting into work mode. Go ahead. But
No, I was
I'm
gonna
like,
say-
no, we can't say that. We can't say that. It's like,
But yeah, there was. Oh, right, because that was the
runaway
the
forever.
exploitable.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we turned that off.
So what we're
turns-
saying is AI is an iterative process.
Yeah. Turns out sometimes
yes,
things are
and.
not fun. So
Yeah.
we removed that part, and hopefully people like it better now.
Yeah.
So we have a couple different moods that are being used, and defensive is one of them, and that provides sort of a whole different sort of page of tunings. So all of that.
Somebody actually becomes defensive.
That's right.
And then gets these tunings.
That's right.
Right.
Got it.
And so that makes the influence map kind of balance in a different way, and so preferring to be, in the case of defensive, out of the line of fire and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then that trigger is right now on heat instability.
So what about the other type of things I was talking about there, where there's a hero or
There's no concept of that.
Yeah.
And there is. I mean, yeah, and there's no plans to do anything like that. We are continuing to work and have done work recently, although I haven't had a chance to look at it because I've been busy doing other things. But making the AI more effective. And just to jump ahead to another question, if that's cool.
I don't see why not.
There was some stuff too. There's some questions I saw of like what is now. What are you planning to improve after the beta, and what is improved during the beta?
Yeah.
Both of those, one big answer is the most valuable thing in a turn-based game, and it's true for our AI as well, is using an activation and using it well. Like throwing away an activation is huge. Like if you remember from Shadowrun when
It makes them look stupid.
well, yeah, if you remember in Shadowrun like how effective AP attacks were.
Yes.
Right? Or XCOM, if one of your guys gets knocked out, like that's a huge loss.
Yeah.
Like losing that action.
Yeah.
So we had people were like, oh, this is okay for the first beta release, and then when we did the next one, people were like, oh, we're seeing some improvement here.
Right.
I'd have to say a good half of that was just like not getting to a place where nothing was happening or using sensor lock correctly. So that was from those people that asked what's the difference between as we move through these beta releases.
Yeah.
I'd say the AI using its turns well was something that we were really working on.
Yeah, it makes total sense to me. I don't want to call this out as a positive, but I was actually one of the AI designer on the Mech Commander series, along with Glenn Doran, who was the actual AI. Basically, I was asking the questions. I was kind of the you, except way less talented, as you'll see from the Mech Commander AI. And when it always came down to these types of roles and stuff like that, what I discovered was nobody cares if the AI is smart. What they care about is that the AI appears smart.
Right.
Key.
And that you're communicating with the AI. Because the AI can do all sorts of smart shit, and if you don't know they're doing it, it doesn't exist.
Right.
Right?
If it's off screen, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, but it just did this brilliant thing in the log.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
here, this is for you.
Yeah, and for sure to the people that ask like, oh, are you guys trying to make an AI, or is there a difference in an AI between something that plays BattleTech very well or something that plays fun? And it's just like, there is, and we're trying to make the AI play fun.
Yeah.
Like-
Because if the BattleTech AI plays BattleTech very well, we probably don't make that much money, and we don't get to keep making BattleTech games. But if it's fun, you can see there's a cause and effect there.
That makes sense.
That's for you too.
That's why you're the boss.
That's why chicks dig me and bring me coffee.
Yeah.
Now, we are at, what's that say, 12:29?
Yep.
So we are running out of time for you, so bonus round.
Oh.
I'll try and ask you some questions. But I want to ask you, just as we close it out, because you guys gave a lot of really useful information. So I want to go to some of the goofy-ass
Oh,
questions
good.
here as we close it out on a smile. What do you say?
I love it.
Great. Now, let me see if I can actually see that. Hey, did you guys, this comes from Commander Dunsale, but a lot of other people asked this. Did you do anything that the AI actually behaved in a funny way? It's like, oh, I didn't expect to do that. It's awesome.
So-
take this here.
I mean, there's stuff that's surprising
Yes.
and gratifying. You had a story about, or a situation of the AI, I don't know, executing on something that you thought was.
Yeah, like it's made me smile in the ways where like I've been evaluating a behavior and I'm like, oh man, I totally have the AI dead to rights here. I'm totally going to win. We got to figure out, we can't allow the game to ship with the AI to be exploited in this manner. And then it becomes the AI turn. I get like knocked down and my head shot off. And I'm like, well, maybe it's working fine. It's making me laugh like that, but not anything really hilarious. And I think part of that is because this isn't a real-time game.
Oh, yeah.
So
That's
it's like,
interesting.
you don't have like the guy doing the goofy dance in the corner.
Yeah,
or,
right.
or something.
Doing the sprinkler or whatever,
Yeah.
the Cabbage Patch.
Yeah.
Yeah, not happening.
Or,
All right.
or like falling downstairs, like there are games
Oh, yeah.
where that kind of thing goes viral, and it's
absolutely.
awesome, and that's not
yeah.
our game.
No, that's
so.
not our game. That's
Yeah.
interesting. All right, goofy softball question. We'll start with Dave. If you were a character class from any game that's tabletop or video, what would your character class be? You can do race too if you want.
Oh, I was
That's your race
probably
in
the
American, I'm just saying.
the nerdy engineer, like back on the ship kind of thing, like fixing the.
O'Brien. That's
Yeah,
Deep Space Nine. thing.
O'Brien or Kaylee or
Oh, Kaylee.
Yeah.
Shoulder.
What was that?
My shoulder hurts a little.
All right.
So
What about you, Sport?
Believe it or not, also,
But nerdy, huh?
Yeah, Shadowrun Rigger.
Rigger.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
You bet. Like I always play like you gotta have like.
I will sit in this room and send drones out to fight.
No, that's the thing about the way I play Shadowrun. It's like, yeah, you gotta be. There's the man with the plan. I like to be the man with the van. You gotta have that, and then also like a little bit of MacGyvering on the run itself.
Oh, sure.
I got my engineer kit. Got my
Yeah.
little flame torch. Got my plastic explosives.
Yeah.
So one time I made an exploding blood elevator. Long story.
That actually was my band in the 80s.
Oh,
Like
yeah?
that punk thing exploding. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. La da 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 da. Sorry, whatever. I apologize for my behavior. Wow, actually, one last thing. I'll take one last thing from you for chat. Go right now. Put the word question in front, and then we're going to cut to the rest of the game stuff. So let's go. One AI thing for these guys, or anything goofy in chat. Here it
Excuse me.
comes. And there's also a time delay, so don't look. Because
sorry.
This might be something very special.
Sorry, I don't want to ruin it.
Now, either of you ever perform a Highlander burial?
not yet.
Is that a BattleTech thing, or is that
You're
like?
killing me right now.
right.
Yes, Highlanders are very.
Is it the
heavy
jump
mech.
jet thing?
Yeah,
All right, I remember.
And
I have
assault
heard
mech
that.
jumping on you is bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
tried for that in the season finale of Death from Above.
Yeah.
I was in a Highlander myself, and I was like, I'm gonna Highlander bear. I'm gonna teach these. Fuckers.
Sounds like
And
an exotic shot.
Yeah.
Like, that would be Scotch
Yeah.
and like.
Or
Oh,
something,
you know
something on
something?
fire.
Here, I got
Yeah.
a question right now. I glanced at it, but it's a good one. Will we be able to tweak the AI in the game?
So the influence map tunings are all in JSON.
Oh, great.
And I know that people have been seeing that and been like some of the questions were, we see all this
How's
stuff.
this deprecated code work?
Yeah, well, and it's not all deprecated. I mean, some of
Yeah.
the stuff is actually labeled deprecated. And,
Like I look
but-
at your freaking Jake sound. Come on.
But a lot of the stuff is there and turned either way down or all the way off. So some of that stuff is alive, and who knows? In the next build, we may start removing some of that stuff. But yeah, definitely there is some ability with the current versions to experiment with stuff, and I know that a lot of the engineers have been impressed with the amount of stuff that's been reverse engineered.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so
You guys are
go to it.
awesome.
Yeah.
No, have at it. Actually, that leads me back to the whole Apple II
Okay.
AI thing.
Yep.
Because in Mech Commander 1, a little known fun fact was that all of our AIs had brains. And the idea was the brain was actually an AI file such that players could tweak the AI, make it their way, and then send it to their friends
Oh, cool.
and say, use my brain. That never shipped, but that
Okay.
was one of the intentions. I thought, oh, people are really going to dig that, and maybe they would have. But it was also 1997, and
Okay.
that's not exactly as
People had email back then, and that's about it.
Yeah, we did have email.
Yeah, yeah.
We had
Yeah.
faxes, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And there was the World Wide Web existed.
The information superhighway.
No, it did.
It
I
did,
did.
it
Because,
did, yeah,
because there was dropshipcommand.com, which was the Mech
Well,
Commander
so
site.
like my first AI commercial game that I worked on the AI was Lords of Magic, and that was before updates were a thing that really happened like in game. You had to go to the Sierra FTP site to download the patch, and so my AI was shipped in a patch, and one of the first things I did was, how does the AI decide to make use of boats in order to get my army across to this island or whatever? And my like boat AI was a brain of itself, very much the same kind of thing. But people freaked out on the forums. It's like, oh my God, the AI wasn't able to do that before. You're welcome.
Yep, that's correct.
I just graduated high school.
See me after class.
But that's still getting up there.
You're engaging in ageism right now. You don't even know it. This is just passive, and I have to deal with your crap.
All day, yeah.
Well,
All right.
Guess what? Is that my update?
Anonymous benefactor.
Anonymous beautiful benefactor.
So, can I go get taco time now? Or
Yes,
what?
get up.
All right.
Everybody say goodbye.
See y'all.
Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael McCain, Game Director of BattleTech. Everybody shift over. Come on in here, sport.
Enjoy the taco time.
All right. Now, for the second half of this live stream developer Q&A for BattleTech from Hairbrained Schemes, hosted by our friends at NoGutsNoGalaxy. You look... Dude, sorry. It turns out we make video games. Wait till you see the end. By the end, our last live stream Q&A. But I'm not...
There's a character in Shadowrun Dragonfall named Green Winters that is modeled after Mitch.
During Crunch.
Yeah, and over the course of the video diaries, if you're familiar with the game, like they progress further and further into Green Winter's life. And we just got pictures of Mitch looking more and more tired to send to our portrait artist.
Yeah, that was fun until my wife actually played the game. It's like, and I made it my profile picture on Facebook for about 5 minutes. She's like, get that off. She did not appreciate those at all. So for the second half, these are general questions we call potpourri. You can ask anything you want. Please put in brackets, all caps, in the front of your question, the word question, so I can find them fast. Are beards required for senior positions at HBS, McCain? If you look around the table,
no.
It's not required. Chris Kolmecki, our senior producer, does not have one, and that's it. So it's not required, but you should probably get on the bandwagon there. Why is the cup empty? It is not empty. It is now completely full, and God bless America. Did Dagger Mike bring you crunch coffee or brunch coffee? Thank you, Ian Driss, sorry. The answer is... it's crunch coffee because there's no booze in it. All right, next. What will the difficulty settings, this comes from Mad3R Marauder, what will the difficulty settings actually influence the game, Mike?
What will the difficulty settings actually influence in the game? So we don't necessarily have like a options menu difficulty setting. We do have the notion of contract difficulty in the sim game, and what that does. So whenever you take a contract, there's a difficulty rating that is based in part on the content of the contract and the enemy forces you're facing and where you're at in the sim game. And so the player, you see that primarily. Different contracts have some complications that can happen that can factor into the difficulty rating. As well as the generated lances that you fight. That's probably the biggest thing right there. Probably should have just said that.
There's some killer questions in here. Real fast, I'm going to knock one out. Jack of all pots asks, will the beta be available for purchase on Steam? Not exactly. This is a Kickstarter backed project. Kickstarter's over, but if you go to BattleTechGame.com right now, you can become a late backer and buy your way into the beta, which also gives you the full game when it comes out. So I hope that answers.
You can purchase it and play it on Steam.
But you're going to purchase it from us, not on Steam. So, Mitch, how was the vacation? Rad. Thanks, Spartacus, for asking. I got to tell you though, I'm so happy to be back at work. I jump in. Everybody's like, "Whoa, easy on the energy, sport." It's like, "Oh, he's rested now. Good Lord, we need him tired again." Mike, will there be any alternate ammo types? This comes from Pale Bear CDN. Nope. Because what we don't want to do is you loading up all these different things. Not for this one. It's 3025. We'll get more complicated as things go on. All right. Commander Dunsale, our buddy, asks, we know an Iron Man mode is planned. Difficulty levels aren't in the backup beta, but are they for the launch game? We just answered that, actually, so I'm going to move on. Going back up. God damn it. Are you still getting beggars from Backer Kit? Yes, we had them on Monday, and thank you. And the entire team thanks you for that. Scrolling up. Please go ahead and repeat your questions and make life easier for Daddy over here. Will we be able to train our mech warriors to all max stats during the game, or is there a cap in the game? Well, there's a different max is a cap. Right.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember right now, so I'm not going to answer and lie to you. I will say, so there's 4 stats, and mech warriors can have a primary specialization and a secondary, which every skill has 2 mech warrior abilities associated with it. You can get both of the skills in your primary, and you can get one of the skills in your secondary. So even if we let you spend all the skill points, which I don't remember, you won't be able to have maxed out, I have all the abilities in the game.
All right, so a couple things real fast to knock out. One of our friends here, Bubba-san Prime, isn't that awesome? Just asked me a question, which is, will you ever be an Op 4 on Death from Above Legacy? Which we've moved the timeline forward 30 years in Death from Above, so now we're getting clans in there, filthy cheating clanners. Will I be an Op 4 on there? Plans are underway. The question is, who will I be? Will I be an 85-year-old Lord Commander or some stinking cheating clan? Okay. So, Mikey Mike, does Salvage and Rep play a major role in the game, and how does that work? This comes from N. Simmons, 52001.
Yes. So reputation affects a lot of things. Everything from how much stuff costs in the store to, I think in the extreme cases, whether you can get contracts from the faction at all, to how much they'll pay you when you're taking their contracts. I think there's a couple other things too, but...
What about Salvage?
Salvage is super important.
That's it? That's your answer?
Yeah. Well, okay, so Salvage, in any BattleTech Mech Warrior game, Salvage is an important part of the economy. And every mission that you take, you can negotiate essentially how much fixed payment you're getting for the mission and how much salvage rights you're getting. Now, salvage is generally going to be your bigger risk, bigger reward option because not only does it mean that there's a large element of randomness in your mission rewards from the salvage portion of your reward, but it's also contingent on your play, like how many enemy units did you destroy to generate salvage in the first place. So there's basically a triangle. It's like the iron triangle of development, except it's for contract negotiation. Yeah, it's less painful, which is C-bill payment, salvage, and reputation. And so by default, the client says, we're going to pay you 1 million C-bills. And you can negotiate that down. You can basically say, no, I'm going to take 500,000 C-bills, but I want this much salvage rights. And so you can negotiate that on a spectrum at fixed intervals. You can also say, no, you know what? I'm just going to do it for you for 700,000 instead of 1 million. And if you do that without asking for anything else, you get a reputation bump should you successfully complete the mission. So that's kind of the 3
sides of the triangle.
Yeah.
See, I see what you did there. Interesting questions. Let's see. I don't want to go too deep because, like, oh, more salvage questions. Let's keep going on breadth rather than depth. Can we swap engines in the release of the Mech Lab? Asked
No.
Bard's Rock. No, but there are. I think we've talked about this before, but there's a lot of new people in because of Paradox hosting us today. So Mech Lab.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So Mech Lab, right? There are hard points, correct? Is that the way?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, for example, if I'm taking off an AC5, I can put an AC10 there, but I can't necessarily put a PPC there,
Yeah,
correct?
so hard points are per weapon type. And you know, one of the reasons that we really like that system is just to, we're providing a fair amount of flexibility. Different chassis, some chassis have multiple hard points in a location, so you still have some options what you want to put there.
That's interesting.
And weapon types can vary a decent amount within a hard point. Like an AC2 performs very differently than an AC20, as I'm sure you know. But you know, the biggest thing for us is preserving the personality of the individual mech chassis. So a Hunchback has a certain character in the game, strengths and weaknesses, and without some sort of limiting factor like a hardpoint system, everything ends up as a boat. Whatever the player thinks the best strategy is, they'll
just medium
min-max
laser, medium
it.
laser, medium laser, or PPC boat.
Yeah, so that's the main reason for
Yeah,
that.
that makes sense.
Aside from weapons, kind of coming back to the original question, we don't go down to the level of engine customization, but we do have a variety of other pieces of gear that you can equip to make the mech better. We also have different weapon manufacturers. I guess think Borderlands a little bit there. So different weapon manufacturers will have different specific bonuses for one stat or two stats on the weapon.
Cool, but it's not changing the nature of the weapon.
No.
Or anything like that. Yeah, makes sense. Got a repeat question multiple times from our little buddy Ian Dressari. Miss you, baby. Come out to Seattle, we'll hang. Which is, will we get a Tyler voice pack in the game? I'm answering this. Stop it. Just stop it. If we do, it'll be an Easter egg, and I'm not telling you. You're going to find it. But could there be a Zorch? There could be. He's very motivated, but I have him sitting at his desk doing his damn job. So fun is fun. Oh, and by the way, anybody ask me about quads, I'm just going to leap through the camera and strangle you right now. Pale Bear CDM asks, are there character abilities available to NPCs that are not available to our player mech warriors?
Not quite sure I understand the question.
So special ability, like multi-target, right?
Oh,
that
no,
NPCs only have.
nothing,
At least
nothing
that's the way I
unique to
interpret the
NPCs
question.
like that, yeah.
Right.
We do have the ability to make NPCs that break the rules. So I mentioned earlier that you know, when you're customizing mech warriors, you can have one primary specialization and a secondary. We had a good name for that too. I just forget what we called it. Specialization and expertise, I think. But we have the ability to make like an NPC mech warrior that has one ability from 3 skill tracks, for example, or has 4 abilities, which isn't possible. So we can do stuff like that.
Right, and we have folks in the chat, and I'm really gratified by this, that don't know what quads are, which is awesome. That means that you're not double secret steeped in BattleTech lore, and you're actually coming to this with fresher eyes. So welcome, we love you to death. Quads. You know how mechs are giant walking robots? Well, what if they had 4 legs and did this? And we're not doing that. And stop asking. But I love you. But stop asking.
I want to later, though.
Of course we want to later. In success, all things are possible. Non-canon spider thing. Mech assault is yeah, stop it. Okay. Let's see. No, there will be no tripod mechs.
Even numbers.
No, there is no comment on regional mech variants. Let's see. Prussian Havoc, our little buddy, Prussian Havoc, who's actually not little at all, he's enormous. You're way bigger and more muscular than I thought you were online. Asks, any chance we'll be getting some directorate and restoration specific art, like banners and things like that? I think you mean like we're going to put it out there for you to use as like Twitter banners and stuff like that. And I'll say, we got to do stuff like that before we ship. We just gotta, right? Yes, someday, before we ship, because that's part of the whole marketing thing.
Hey,
right?
Paradox.
Hey, Paradox, why don't you make that shit for us? Love you.
No, we have some cool emblems. We'll put like
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
social
Happy
media
to help.
package together or something when we're closer to pre-orders.
Jack of all Ponce asks, will there be an Iron Man mode a la XCOM? Right?
Yes,
Yes, that is the plan.
most likely at
Producer
launch.
says, most likely at launch. We want it, most likely at launch. That's just, for those of you who don't know, we got a question earlier about how does game development work? And why are games late? It's like, well, because of all the variables. But what we do is, just to let you know, we have a giant stack of features that we want to do. And we actually prioritize them. This is more important than this, more important than this. And not only are they prioritized, they have to be chronologized too, because you want to do this before you do this, even though this is actually a higher priority. But basically what happens is within what we call a 2-week sprint, you're trying to get this much work done. And anything that doesn't get done that week, either that sprint goes to the next sprint, or we talk about cutting it. And eventually, when you run out of time, everything that's left on the list was left out of the game until an update or something like that. And that's just how it works.
We're doing pretty well.
We're doing pretty well. Like, I'm not freaking out, which is real good. Nobody wants a little intense little man freaking out. So, is there a way to save the single player game mid-mission? Asks our buddy Arslan. Yeah.
Unless you're playing in Iron Man. But
Right.
so even in Iron Man, you can save your game whenever
After-
you want.
yeah.
You don't get to reload. You can save and quit. You know.
Oh, right. And then reload at that spot, but you can't go backwards in time.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
you
you
get
can
one
save
save
it
game.
and
It's like quick save
go
forever.
work and then come back.
Yeah, remind me to tell you about my quick save problem with Jedi Knight 2. Because I accidentally quick saved while I was falling off a cliff.
Oh, I've done that before. I think I did it in that game actually, because they didn't know so. After that, games did like a 2 quick save slot system, so it was a quick save and backup quick save.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But not at that time.
That's so modern.
Yeah.
Hey, wait, I had one for you right here. Where'd it go? Will the game be in a box version too? No. Collector's edition? No. There, got that out of the way. Story mission length comes from Mother Volpine 1.
Story mission length.
Yeah, about the same amount as a skirmish. Like, how long do missions take in the game?
I want to say
Well, let's start out this way. There are
20 to
mercenary
50
missions
minutes.
and story missions.
yeah.
Right?
I don't think that there's a great length variance between the two types. There might be a few exceptions to that.
Yeah.
But generally, I think 20 to 60 minutes, and that depends on the complexity of the mission and how you're playing. If you're failing and having to replay, obviously, we're going to go blow past that number.
Yeah. But in
for
general,
a
yeah.
successful playthrough at 20 to 60 is probably.
Yeah, 20 to 60, and in general with the mercenary missions, I'm clocking in around the half-hour neighborhood personally, but I'm easily distracted. And in the story missions, that's really hard to say because different people play those very differently. If you're a very defensive player, you're going to
That's kind of where the 60 comes from.
yeah.
Is there's
So-
ways to manage much more conservatively.
Hope that answers
take
your
a little
question,
more time.
though. Tahoods, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, asks, is the plan still down to actuator level customization?
Yes and no. So you don't customize every little part of every mech. We have gear upgrades essentially. So what you can do. Forgive me, I don't remember the specifics of the gear spreadsheet right now. But taking that as an example, like there are actuators you can equip that improve performance that are optional that take up a slot that may take up some tonnage, but it's not like every mech in your lance you have to make sure the actuators are repaired or working or just replace it with the default one. It's like the mech's assumed to have something and you have optional gear items to make it better.
That makes sense. Super duper move, by the way, says the poor guy looks haggard. Not talking about me. That just shows our level of responsibility on the project. Actually,
that's endearing.
I still have the glow from my vacation.
Yeah, you want to try it?
You can take my glow if you want to try. I'd like to see that. But let's live stream that shit. Will there be multiple part missions in the game as well as single missions?
There's a couple story missions that sort of go part A, part B. We don't really have the concept of like a long extended campaign without resupply. It's an ablative enough game for one mission, and
No
we
shit.
can't. It's something we've talked about for future content, though.
And we don't
actually.
have a series of mercenary contracts that are linked.
We
either.
do. Well, we
have
do.
we have the
but
ability to.
You go back to the Argo, and then
Right.
another mission could come up later that was gated by the first.
Yeah, and that's fine. It's not 3 missions in a row, but their 3 missions are linked either thematically or something like that.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Yeah,
Right.
and intended. There's one more part to that answer. Yeah, we do have a couple story missions though, where we basically disable time in between because there's an urgency to the events. So then that forces you to drop again with whatever you have on hand. You don't have to take the same mechs from the first mission, but still have to figure out what you have that can be fielded.
Our buddy Dispiritor out there, hi, first time I heard your name, thank you for coming, asks a salient question that I've forgotten all of a sudden because I'm totally stoned because it's Seattle. Can we have vehicles, or does the enemy only get vehicles?
Only enemies.
Only enemies, there you go. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Bombastic Theory asks a question that also Calandus is asking as well, I believe. Will there be an in-game database or codex that we can access?
Yeah.
Or encyclopedia or something like that. How about that? That's our intention.
Yeah.
Can we say that? That's our intention. But we stack rank everything.
So, well,
right? And then-
there's a lot of different versions of, like,
Right.
so Encyclopedia evokes, like, okay, there's one place I can go and read all the lore. We'd like that. But we've got a lot of other systems in place. You know, like, one thing that we are really passionate about is there's a lot of lore and a lot of background in the BattleTech universe. People love that. We're giving it to fans. It's not a prerequisite to entry to our game. And, you know, one thing that was actually really inspirational playing Tyranny for the first time is the way that they handle tooltips to sort of
Mouse over the
expose the player to their lore more gradually in the experience. And, you know, Stellaris does this too. And so that's something that we're prioritizing as well. So we have a tooltip system in game, and it's designed to sort of say, well, are you wondering what the Taurian Concordat is? We don't need you to have studied that beforehand, or even go look at an encyclopedia entry if you don't know what it is. We also don't need a character to be like, hey, and the Taurian Concordat, who is the government to the east of us, the blah, blah, blah. You can just mouse over it and get a little explanation.
Spartacus __ RWS, will engine and gyros become crittable?
No.
There you go. See, I love yes or no questions because then I can just go to the next one. 3 minutes left, kids, so get your questions in. Let's see. Is customization of our mechs so that we could add 2 more legs to each chassis? That's it. That's it. That's it. I'm shutting this shit down right now. I got things I could be doing. Let's see. Good Lord. Would Team HBS take part in the BWO Planetary League, maybe as its own faction? I can answer that on behalf of the studio. Maybe after we ship and are completely calm, because that always happens. I can't speak for them, but there are people in here, Christopher Eck, that might actually jump into something like that. As a team-wide thing, we leave it to the team to self-organize, right? But I don't expect an official HBS team. But if they want to put on T-shirts, that's their right as Americans, right? Makes sense so far? Between the Borders asks, is there an update on our BattleTech Steins? Maybe I don't have them. Go to BattleTechGame.com and ask that, and you can ask Inspector Hound. Tag him, and he'll answer that question for you. Got 2 minutes left. Let's see.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Ain't it the truth? You should have seen Kevin and Dave are just like, what a minute, it's over? Like, yeah, go back to work. And Kevin's like, can I eat lunch? Like, no. Kaza Doom, thanks for all the questions, by the way, on BattleTechGame.com. Did the events of Death from Above, our show, our live streaming Twitch role-playing game, will that have any impact on the story? And the answer is no, it will not. These two things are not really linked, although you will see elements that we played with on Death from Above in our game.
There are perhaps a few moments of serendipitous inspiration.
Yes, but they are actually serendipitous rather than planned. It's like, oh, you did that? You know, we did that on Death from Above. Cool, that's awesome, right? So for the 5 people that dig that, you'll get some what may be construed as Easter eggs, but are actually simply happy accidents, which is another word for serendipity, I think. Ishilmi, which is different than kill me, says, if I lose the arm of a mech, will it automatically be replaced, or is it a spare I need to buy in salvage? Do I buy arms?
So you don't buy arms. You don't have like a bucket in your mech bay of
arms,
spare mech, like Franken mech arms.
Vivisected.
You do have to repair it though, and that repair job takes time
and money.
And money.
Yeah, time is money. Oh, see what I did there? By the way, really, being a mercenary commander in our game is very, very similar to running a game studio.
It's too close.
It's way too close. It's like, oh, we got to make payroll this quarter. That's the way to lose the game. You don't make payroll. It's just like, that is actually how you lose the game. So I'm just going to let that linger there for 1 minute. And
that
back
was
to this.
long enough.
Yeah, I thought so, right? Let's see. Will there be DLC for specific missions like Wolf Dragoon's contracts? Seriously, if Asshead Kitchen Aggro. That comes from Reality Deviant. We're not talking about DLC right now because we're trying to make the damn game. But our blanket statement is, in success all things are possible, which means additional campaigns are possible, more mexes, my precious, are possible, all sorts of things. But you know what we have to do first? We are over in time, so I'm going to do one more question. Bring me something I like. Come on now. Don't mess with me. Oh, you want to look? There it is.
Yeah, I want to look.
Sure. Kill you. Who's the best player of the game at HBS?
Ooh.
This is a disputed fact. Now, I can
who's
tell you who's
watching
the
right
top
now?
of the leaderboard. Hopefully none of them. Hopefully they're coding and making the damn game. If you're watching, turn this off.
Eck won our last internal
Tourney.
tournament, basically.
Pretty handily. I will say this. He's definitely in the top 3 players in the game. There's an argument to be made for Tyler Carpenter being one of those 3 potentially. I'd say there's also... Red Menace.
Ryan's
Burrell.
pretty sharp with the game.
Yeah, he's real good. Actually, I don't fight him anymore because it's just not fun.
Yeah, I put Kiva and Connor in the top 5.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Fucking Kiva and Connor. That's right. I forgot. Yeah. Our
I think I'm 7th.
7th.
Yeah.
And who's last in the studio, Mike? Who is actually the lowest ranked player in the studio?
Is it still you?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Of those who play.
Oh, that's fair.
You know.
Yeah, but of course. Am I ranked lower than people that don't boot the game? I don't think that really counts. All right, so we are officially out of time. We thank you deeply and sincerely for coming, hanging out. This will, of course, be on YouTube later on. Again, we do these the second Wednesday of every month. We look forward to next time, and I can't wait to figure out who will be our guest stars. And for all of us here at HBS, aloha.
And goodbye.
Oh, right.